welcome to Gajali. For this event, we have a very special person. I would say she is one of the most charming, charismatic champion of the cause of art. She is here to be a judge at Goa Affordable Art Fest, which is organized by Museum of Goa. She is Bhavna. Kakar. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me, Subodh.
No, pleasure. I think inviting you has definitely added a kind of more value to what we are doing, Goa Affordable Art Fest, and also a lot of Goan artists are very eager to listen to you because you have perhaps the most experience in the world of art galleries. Before we go ahead, I must thank Park Hotel for allowing us to use this space and supporting this event. Bhavna, let us start with sort of your own journey. How did you land up starting an art gallery? Latitude is your art gallery, which has really taken art to great heights.
Thank you.
To great latitudes. So let us talk about how did you begin your journey?
So I used to always sketch, draw, work around with clay, do some kind of a craft-based things. I used to love, doing things with my hand, and I kind of confused that with becoming an artist. So I used to enjoy all of these things, and my parents, who were very encouraging, asked me if I want to, do some like paint or draw, and they found out that there's a course in visual art, like bachelor's in painting, which is there in Chandigarh. So I knew about Chandigarh, Baroda. Baroda, I had grown up as a child, so I'd seen the Faculty of Fine Arts. That time my father was posted there, and he's in the army, and so I, that kind of a little bit of this fascination for the fine arts faculty was there, and although I didn't know I'll grow up and want to be an artist or anything like that. But so I applied for, and that point we were in the north of India, so I applied for Chandigarh, I got through, and I did my bachelor's in painting. I realized very soon that, okay, that maybe is not so much of my interest as the history part of it, as the, and I had an entrepreneurial side which kind of honed up over the years, and post my bachelor's, I decided to apply for art history. And I was keen on history always, so I was a good student. I also was simultaneously preparing to, maybe join history honors, but art was my calling, which I'm very happy about. And so I did join art history in MS University, Baroda, in the Faculty of Fine Arts,
I think that's
which
very
was amazing.
Because you are perhaps one of the very few gallerists in the country who is actually qualified to run a gallery. I mean, the same thing I could say about most politicians are not qualified to be politicians because they have not studied social policy
or political science.
Political sciences. But you are the one who actually studied what you are practicing, and you have a
I'm lucky.
knowledge.
Yes,
you are lucky. So definitely, that's definitely one of the reasons which has taken you to such heights.
I hope
and
so. Yes.
When was the first? When did you decide to plan sort of a gallery?
So post my master's, I was, working in the art history field. I was researching. I got a grant to do my PhD, the JRF that the good old traditional students would apply for, and
You did your PhD?
I never finished it.
And what was the subject?
And the subject was Vakataka sculpture. I was working on 5th century Brahmanical sculpture from the Vidarbha region, which is completely different from what I'm doing now. And so for the first couple of years I was doing that, but I was encouraged by a lot of my classmates who happened to be artists, right? Because we went to art school together, to curate a show or to write for them. And slowly I got into both editing, because my first kind of freelance work was mostly for editing when I moved to Delhi, and I started doing exhibitions. So I think there was never a plan to open a gallery, but I realized that there is no space that really shows interesting artists, experimenting, curatorial. Obviously, the demands of running a gallery are so high that people, the gallerists play it safe, and that time was more so. It was the time of the modernist artists, the more decorative. The younger contemporaries were kind of sidelined at that time. I'm talking about 2005, 2006. And so I continued to kind of, show newer artists in independent shows, curated ventures. And around 2008, I realized that one does need a space, because when it comes to showing, then it also comes to selling.
Yeah.
And so you need some kind of an infrastructure to be able to manage that, right? So which is when I thought that maybe I need a space, maybe nothing major as a gallery, but so that I can do the kind of shows I want. Because when you curate for other people also, you have to cater to their demands. So for that reason, I started looking for a space, and around 2009 I finalized and finally launched the brand Latitude 28. And 2010 was when I moved into my space and had my first exhibition.
So, what is the idea behind choosing this name, Latitude?
Latitude 28.3 is the latitude of Delhi.
So, it is a very successful gallery today. And many young artists are looking forward to be shown by Bhavna. So, tell us about the first few shows and your experience of basically managing to sell the work, reaching the buyers, your successes, your failures, your distresses, challenges.
So initially shows, like I just mentioned, I was very ambitious in my first few years, very, very ambitious, you know, not too practical, because coming from an art background, I was, you know, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to change the art scene now, you know, this is the way I'm going to show it, you know, I'll show, curated, experimental, think of completely inane ideas, also work with younger curators, you know, I thought that what I didn't get a chance to do, maybe work with both seasoned and younger curators. Like I did a show called The Pill, which was, 50 years of the birth control pill that year. And Avni Doshi, she's a wonderful writer, and she's just come up with her own novel recently. And she proposed this idea, and we started working towards it. So one was that...
I think I must clarify a little, because you are talking about changing the art scene. Most of our audience will have no idea when you say you wanted to create an art show around a contraceptive pill. And so I think you could explain a little bit more, because you must realize that in a country of 1.3 billion, not more than 1 lakh people connect with contemporary art.
Okay.
Right? So most of our viewers are basically people who will be rather shocked to say, okay, this girl wants to create a show around contraceptive pill. So please, I mean,
it was Avni, to be fair. Okay. It was her idea, but yes, I was all for it. You know, with such a, like I said, a controversial idea. You know, something that made the artists think about. Some completely refused the show, and most of them. Nobody knew that it is 50 years to the launch of The Pill, you know, which was something even I came to know about that year. So yeah, so it was challenging. Of course, I realized that I enjoy working with thinking artists, you know, people who can, you know, who'd like to read up, who don't want to give a literal thing that I've given them an idea of a pill and they've made one, created one pill and sent me. So, and from there on my journey started also with a lot of South Asian artists. So for that particular show, I'd invited artists from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, there were artists from US, you know, so Indian artists, the diaspora artists. So we had a combination of artists from all over, and so that also became one of my, I would say, forte of Latitude 28, where we are not afraid to show artists from outside of our you know, region. Usually we like to stick to Indian because we know that a lot of our collectors like to buy the known and the seen and things that, you know, they feel they can trust. So, which are the Indian artists, but I realized that the South Asia has a lot of good art, and that can become one space where people would come and see new work. So every time they come to Latitude, they would be like, okay, what is this? Tell us about it. What kind of work is this? What kind of medium is this?
So throughout your journey, you have really supported young artists.
Yes.
And experimental artists, new experiments.
Yes, yes.
So I think this must be very challenging, because it is not easy to sell new artists and experimental artists.
Yes.
Because, I mean, in the art market is also a very complex world.
Yes.
Where there are already brands created and you only sell brands.
True. Most of our collectors are interested in buying brands. You know, so I realized that because I was doing exhibitions, I did have some support, patron support, collectors, connoisseurs who would visit the gallery, who would, you know, or check with me on what is new, what is upcoming, all of that. But before that, I was selling more established names. But once I opened the gallery, you know, I realized it's tougher, because if I want to show newer, I really need to present them in a certain manner, learn about them, be convinced about their artists. You know, because the main thing I think in the gallerist is that he needs to be convinced and in love with the artist to be able to sell it. Okay. You know, so, at least I feel in my case.
Okay, let's do a little experiment. I think since you have been promoting young artists, let us, you can choose a few young artists, experimental artists, and talk about their works. So we can show the audience a few of these images later.
So amongst the many artists that we've shown over the years, there are a few of my favorites. One is this artist we've been recently showing, who's also showed at the Museum of Goa, Sudipta Das. Yes. And so we've been working with her since about 2014 now. She is from Shantiniketan, based in Baroda, and works beautifully with paper. And so she was already working with paper, coffee stain, watercolor, all of that while in Shantiniketan. Once she moved to Baroda, she managed to go on a residency to Taiwan and in Korea, where she learned paper making with Hanji paper.
Okay.
And she's kind of developed that further. So what is interesting in what we do is, as you know, which maybe or maybe not other galleries do, is supporting our artists for residencies. Because I feel that, you know, what they create in the studio, in the solitude of their studio, and when they exhibit is, I mean, of course they get feedback for what they show, but when they go to a residency where there's no pressure of an exhibition where a work will sell or not sell, you know, that whether they will fail with this experiment, whether we can take it further. So that kind of is lifted, and they really push themselves to create new things, you know, especially when they're experimenting with a new medium. But sometimes in their own studio space, you're an artist, so you can tell us better. You wonder, you know, how with this, I'm doing this for a show, what are the logistics of it, what is this, you know, all of that. There are certain things, and younger artists cannot afford a lot of things, you know.
Now, you work with artists from India, Southeast Asia, and also from other parts of the world. Now, how would you compare the Indian art scenario with the international art scenario? Have you managed to sort of sell Indian artists to the museums of the world? So just comment on that.
So I think the Indian art scene is very, very vibrant in comparison to a lot of art scenes, which I see especially around South Asia, which everybody looks anyways to India as the big brother.
Okay.
And there's so much, and I think the level of intellect, this level of academics that we have here is quite incomparable. You know, we may have lesser art critics. We do not have as many publications as we should. I have one, and I know how difficult it is to bring it out. And so, which I feel we have lacking in India, the number of journals, magazines, publications. What we do lack is independent art spaces. You know, maybe let's say independent residencies, not so many museums, as you know, you're aware. And so it's a gallery-centric thing, which is most of South Asia, because most of South Asia is driven by art galleries or commercial setups, because the independent spaces are not so much, simply because the governments don't support it. Whereas in the rest of Southeast Asia, there is much more support of patrons and collectors and all of that to build these institutional spaces. But irrespective, you know, I feel the Indian artists, they really are, they push the boundaries. They've made a, you know, a name in any big Biennale or art exhibition, curated show that you see around the world. I mean, you go to the Venice Biennale, this time we had our we have our second India Pavilion, but we always have a presence of Indian artists in the main shows, you know, which has nothing to do with the India Pavilion.
From London, and I went to Tate Modern. There's a huge work of Atul Dodia, and opposite that work, they have put an original Mondrian.
Amazing, amazing.
So because his work has a connection with Mondrian, that
correct,
the cupboard,
correct,
they have original Mondrian. So Mondrian is watching Atul Dodia. And this is lovely.
Yes.
So now tell us. My question was about how did you succeed?
There's also Dayanita there. There's also Dayanita there. Yeah.
So how did you succeed in sort of perhaps taking Indian artists as latitude?
As latitude, see, we've always been working towards, you know, so they're all, so as a magazine, as a publication, and as a gallery, we work with a lot of, we try to show our artists to a number of curators who visit, or, you know, when I visit art fairs and exhibitions abroad. So take partners with a number of international fairs like Basel, Art Dubai, you know, earlier it was, there was Art Hong Kong, Art Singapore. So we've done that, and I myself travel with a lot of exhibitions internationally, and which is why I try to present the artists to the international art community. And as you asked, you know, that have I been able to sell them or place them into international collections? It is via these. And also when a lot of these international visitors visit Delhi, which, you know, I'm grateful to be in kind of the center of the Indian art world. Delhi is the center in a way. Bombay is not going to like that, but it is. So we have a number of visitors who come, look at our artists, maybe want to place them later in different collections,
Which are the
all of
international
that.
shows which you participate as Latitude?
You know, art fairs,
Yeah.
as a gallery.
So, yeah.
So we've done Art Dubai in the past, we've done Art Hong Kong in the past, and we've done a number of independent shows in London, in Singapore, in Hong Kong. I've done the Singapore Art Fair, the Art Stage, and so quite a few, you know, that we've done over the years in partnership or in the fairs.
This year, are there any plans for the coming few months?
Yes, we're planning a large, so we're planning a large show, hopefully with the National Gallery of Modern Art, with printmaking, and we hope to make that show travel all over the country, as well as maybe take it internationally.
Let's move to a little different conversation now, because we have limited time. Now, in this country of 1.3 billion, very few people connect with contemporary art. The common people, they feel, no, this contemporary art is for the rich in five-star situation. It is not for us. And because most galleries also, major galleries are situated in also areas which are not accessible to common people. And I don't mean common people in the sense farmers and laborers. I am talking about corporate guys, teachers, bankers, and all kind of
educated
people,
upper middle class.
Educated upper middle class. So in a country of 1.3 billion, not more than just about 1 lakh people connect with contemporary art.
I agree.
Yeah, you agree. So what are the kind of measures you think should be taken to rectify this?
I think, see, we as galleries, wherever we are situated, we can only do a bigger outreach program. So more recently, me with 2 more gallerists from Delhi have started this initiative called the Delhi Contemporary Art Week. We all realize that there is an only limited audience that we can encourage and invite, which is from our own mailing lists. And sometimes, you know, the outreach increases because of a certain artist who's participating or somebody we are collaborating with. But only as many people will come to the gallery. So we realized that maybe we need to make it more central, and we took the venue of Visual Art Gallery, which you know, is very, very central to Delhi, and gotten 7 galleries that show only contemporary art, and put it together in a more curated way to present and promote that, to be able to build up a new viewership, you know, of people who walk in, because a public gallery has, you know, is usually hired by one person who will show a certain kind of art. But when 7 people come together to show the kind of things we show, you know, the kind of things we believe in. So although many of them, like, you know, there was Vadera Art Gallery, which also shows modern, or there's a sparse, but we try to keep it to only contemporary, to be able to, and there, because we were present ourselves, we were able to do a bit of more of hand-holding, do walkthroughs. You know, we would take the people, you know, who are coming through various channels, because we did walkthroughs for banks, and we did it for YPOs, we did it for a younger crowd, you know, who want to start collecting, young collectors program, and even otherwise from school, there were children coming. So we did ourselves, because when you do something like an art fair, you know, there is so much going on that is very difficult to take.
Kochi Museum's Biennale actually places where common people.
They do come in, yeah, but it's difficult for us to kind of interact with them there, you know, because there is so much going on for us also. But in these smaller programs, you know, where there is much to see, because there were 50 artists in one go, it's not a typical exhibition, but we were able to do more. So that's what we can try to do, more outreach initiatives, you know, from the gallery side, but also I think public exhibitions help a lot.
Okay, let me come to the last question. You know, people hear about Sotheby's auction, Christie's auction, that 2 most important artists who have sold for biggest prizes happen to be from Goa, Gaitonde and Souza. Yes. Gaitonde has sold for 28 crores, a painting which is just about this size. The second in line is again another Goan artist, Francis Newton Souza, some 23 crores or so. Now, most people are completely lost at why. they have no idea. So the art market is almost like sort of heart surgery to most people. They have no idea what is happening.
Probably know more about the art surgery, heart surgery.
So it is sort of, I mean, people don't know why. And I'm talking about corporate heads, directors, all people, they have no idea. So what will be your advice to those who would like to get into this world and perhaps start buying some art? I wouldn't not even use the word investing, but you sort of use this platform to address younger people who would like to perhaps get into buying.
One I would say is see as much as you can, visit exhibitions. Museum of Goa is a wonderful place to do that. There are, keep in touch with what is going around in the city, where you may be able to see good artists. If you have artist friends, visit studios to understand the process. See and then decide, shortlist what you like, look up things online. It's good to, and then, you know, if you're willing to acquire, why is it? Is it for the house? Are you really looking at investment, which I would not say is advisable as, you know, as your initial purchase, because art is a slow, long-term investment if it is. Buy what you like, because you need to eventually live with it, and read as much as possible before making a purchase. Don't go by, you know, listicles, auction lists. All of that eventually doesn't matter, because when you have to live with an artwork, you need to really like it.
No, I can't disagree with you more, because I think before you start buying, first you need to understand it. If you don't understand, you cannot connect with it, there is no point in buying. So it's almost like arranged marriage then. So you don't know.
No, sometimes, see, art is also an impulse purchase.
Yeah.
You may not understand it. You may understand it slowly.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're like, I like it.
Yeah.
I want to get this.
Yeah.
Keep a budget in mind, you know, and then see what else can you get in this budget. Do a little comparative, and and over a period of time, you'll learn to understand it too.
Yeah, it's almost, I compare it with, sort of, you know, many people ask me, is this a good work of art or is this a bad work of art? How do you make out? And so my answer is very simple. If you want to understand music, whether this fellow is singing properly or besur, you have to become a kansen. Only when you become a kansen, you understand that this is not singing properly. Same way, to understand art, you need to become an aksen. So only when your eye is trained you can perhaps judge what is good and what is bad.
And good and bad is also subjective.
It is also subjective. Same way music. Subjective. What my son plays in his room, I don't consider that music because I get headaches. But at the same time, there is an audience for that. So there is no hard and fast rule. But thank you very much for agreeing to come here. Another thing I must tell you that I think she deserves a special thank from Goa. She has come 30, 40, 50 times to Goa. And that's a lot, more than her age. And so I think I take this opportunity to confer some sort of a honorary Goinkarpan on you. I think your presence here in Goa will be a great encouragement to the art community here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love Goa.